got a hacky sack? How about a little bit of tiddlywinks? You know, I couldn't get through this without my pogs. Where are my pogs? The pogs! Whoa, guys, whoa. Sorry about that. I was just having a flashback to the 90s. Why is that? Because the UK government is trying to find out if video gaming is bad for society. This kind of stacks on top of the fact that the United States has now considered video games to be a mental illness, or video game addiction to be a mental illness. I mean, addiction's a mental illness. We all can get addicted to things. Doesn't really matter what it is. But whatever, we're here to talk about what the UK government is doing, and this is really, really interesting. Let's actually see what they had to say about this new thing the government is trying to do to find out if video games are bad for people. The Digital Culture, Media and Sport, otherwise known as DCMS Committee of the United Kingdom Parliament, is asking the public to submit feedback on their views on gaming. Some of the questions the DCMS Committee is asking the public to answer include: is gaming harmful or helpful to society? How does the design of the game keep you playing for longer? What help is needed for people who are concerned about the amount they are gaming? What responsibilities do game designers have to their players? And are young people disproportionately affected by the addictive qualities of games and apps? So while the initial questioning doesn't sound so bad, it obviously is very, very skewed towards gaming as a problem, and it doesn't really matter if everyone who answers the poll says gaming's not a problem. All of the questions are about how gaming is a problem, but like the first one. So this is interesting to me in so much that obviously video game addiction is a real thing. I mean, you know, let me turn my hat back, and I'm sorry. I was too busy living in the 90s back in the day. So gaming addiction is a real thing. It happens. It exists. It's not something I'm going to pretend isn't legit. And a lot of this, to me, is just on parenting. Like, it seems like they're focused more on the youth here with this. And to me, that's a parenting issue. Parents need to do a better job of limiting how much their kids play games. When I was a kid, I got to play games, right? Like, I was a gamer. I grew up back in the day, baby. But the thing is, I was always limited. I could only play it for a couple hours a day, you know? I had to go outside. I had to go do other things. My parents ensured that I did a wide variety of things and didn't just sit on my butt playing video games all day. And I feel like that's the thing with some parents today, is they just let their kids play on their tablets, play on their phones, play on their computers, or their, you know, Nintendo Switches, for crying out loud, PlayStation 4s, Xboxes, whatever they happen to be playing on. They just let them sit there. They do it before school, they do it after school, they do it when they're going to sleep, they let them have their devices in bed with them. Like, things get crazy, and to me, this is just a parenting thing. Kids can get addicted very, very easily to many different things. They can get addicted to certain types of food. They can get addicted to certain activities. You know, if they really, really had fun shooting hoops in basketball, they can end up being addicted to playing basketball. The difference is nobody complains about being addicted to basketball because you're being physically active, and people consider that to be healthy. Whereas when you're playing a video game, sitting on your butt in a nice chair like I am, they consider that to be unhealthy because you're not being physically active. So it's kind of weird how society looks at addiction as like one thing's okay, but another thing's not, just because one requires physical activity and the other one is just finger and eye activity, I guess. It's also interesting because, like, you know, TV addiction is a thing. TV addiction, movies, whatever. That's all a thing too. Internet addiction's a thing. But like, all of this is kind of set aside as, oh, these aren't as big a deal as gaming. Gaming is consistently targeted by governments about, you know, making it try to be this evil thing. And I think a lot of it just comes from parents who are overly concerned that they can't get their youth to get their faces out of their phones or get their faces away from the screens. And, like, be a better parent. That's the only advice I really have. Be a better parent. The government doesn't need to come in and regulate what your children's allowed to do during their free time. I'm sorry. This is a ridiculous thing that they're trying to do. Yes, there absolutely should be programs to help out people who are addicted to games and parents that are having a hard time getting them unaddicted from games, especially when they're throwing the temper tantrums and some of the crazy stuff you see out there. Like you see with any addiction, with gambling addictions, with any sort of addiction, you can kind of see a withdrawal, you know, symptom that leads to behavior that is unbecoming and unusual for that child or for that person. But still, I don't think this is something that a poll asking the public to respond is really going to fix anything. You're not, I mean, if they start regulating what developers can do in their games, it's going to be frustrating. And I'm someone that's like, I'm against the loot boxes, and I don't really like the gambling aspects, but that's not really gaming addiction. That's like a side addiction within gaming. So I don't know. I honestly think that this is a bit ridiculous. There's a lot of things we have to worry about now over in Europe. Article 13 was delayed. Article 13 is the thing that's going to make it so people like can't watch YouTube videos because of copyright thing. That's a whole thing. If you want to know more information, then just type in Article 13 into YouTube, and you're going to see a zillion videos on it. That's been delayed for now. Maybe that'll be defeated. I got the UK kind of trying to leave Europe and be its own thing, not being part of the European stuff anymore, which has been very controversial. There's a lot of stuff going on over there, but like this to me, like out of all the things that they have to worry about, I don't think this is what they need to be focusing on. This is what used to happen in the 90s. In the 90s, video games came under attack by government and law enforcement over and over and over again, and thankfully, for the most part, all of that stuff was kind of defeated and tossed aside. Even Nintendo, who came out speaking against Night Trap, which was all controversial back in the day, that all kind of solved itself. And heck, Night Trap is on Switch. So it kind of all resolved itself over time. I just think that what should be happening maybe is better parenting classes. Or even this, get this. What if they actually had required parenting classes in schools? We know that some kids have like home ec and they got to take like a baby home or whatever, but that's not... Taking care of a baby is a lot different than taking care of a kid who's older and actually controlling things about them. And I feel like having courses on that would be a lot more useful for life skills in a school situation than some of the courses that we do take in school that might not necessarily apply to anything we do in life. And that isn't me taking away from art and music or any of that stuff. I loved art class. I loved music. I was a musician. I did show choir. I was awesome. Like, I love that stuff. It's just me saying that I think we can do a better job educating our kids as they grow up about video games and about addiction. We can do a better job educating them about parenthood. And a lot of this stuff can just can kind of solve itself over time if we just educate people better. That doesn't mean they're going to be better parents. And I'm not saying if you let your kids sit there on their Nintendo Switch for 8 hours a day that you're a bad parent. Maybe, there's different situations. As an example, if you have a kid with mental deficiencies and, video games or tablets or whatever help calm their brain down because it fires certain parts of their brains that aren't usually functioning when they're not playing games, and that causes them to kind of shape themselves into a better mentality and to be happy, like, that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There are kids that are just, they're like that, and we have to recognize that that's a thing too. So I don't know. There's issues with addiction with anything with kids. Back in my day, video games weren't so much an issue back in my day, I don't think, for the addiction aspect. I think a lot of people were addicted to a lot of different things. I remember when my state tried to say that touching yourself was considered an extremely addictive act, and they were considering on having serious actions happen to kids that were doing that, even though it's perfectly normal for you to explore your body as you get older. So this is a little ridiculous to me. This whole thing's ridiculous to me. But you know what? I'll put a link down to the Nintendo Life's article because I don't really want to directly link to where you can leave feedback on this, because I don't want to if you don't live in the UK, like, don't go and answer this thing. This isn't a worldwide issue right now, anyways. But I just wanted to kind of draw some light to it because I just think this is, man, I think I need to go. Like, I almost kind of want to go back to the 90s. I miss Pogs and Hacky Sack. Pet Rocks, you remember that? Was from the 80s, but like I was born in the 80s, coming in the 90s. I remember I had a Pet Rock. Oh, man. I got to go back. I mean, you might hate me, but it ain't no lie. Bye. Anyways, all joking aside, be sure to enter our Nintendo Switch Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Bundle giveaway through the Glean.io link down in the description. Drop a like on this video, subscribe if you would like, and I'll catch you in the next one.